So we got this brother that's going to, respond to someone telling him to go back to Africa. And, that's always an interesting concept when they say go back to Africa, but let's roll that.
Things black people say that don't make no sense. Behind me is a chart of African diaspora around about the transatlantic slave trade. It's 2.5 million people that went to South America, 2.7 million Africans that were transported to the Americas. And this was centuries ago. When people say we should move back to Africa, I don't understand what you're saying. At some point, everybody came from somewhere. We migrated here. It wasn't under our own free will, but once we got severed from Africa, right, we created our own culture. The way we speak, our religion, what we eat, right, everything about us. My mom, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, everything, that culture was established. It's brand new. It's completely different than that's what's in Africa. Keep in mind, when you say going back to Africa, are you just talking about people in North America? Are you talking about people in Jamaica? Are you advocating that people in the country of Jamaica go back to Africa? Because I would say that that's ridiculous. You understand what I'm saying? So, but it's not. It's also just as ridiculous to say people from America, African Americans, should go back to Africa. For what reason? Unless just because you just don't like America, maybe. But you are saying that I no longer want to associate with the culture that has been established here in America. When I talk about culture and I'm talking about impact, look at the impact of just African Americans, not even the Africans that went to the other places in the Western Hemisphere. Of all the races, ethnic groups, I always get those mixed up, on the entire planet, African Americans, the ones that were enslaved through the transatlantic slave trade, had more impact on the entire globe than almost any other race. I mean, we're top 5 for sure. You could go to Asia and you could see the influence that we've had. You can go to Africa. When I was in Iraq and I used to work with Ugandans, you see that them mimicking us. When I was in Itaewon in Seoul, Korea, and we would go hang out, they mimic us because of the culture, the whole long white tees, you remember Soldier Boy with the chain and stuff like that. You see people in other cultures mimicking what was going on down south at ATL, up in New York City, the black folks out in California, right? And you're saying, oh, we need to leave the culture which we made here that has influenced the entire world. Nah, that's not, I don't want to align myself with that. If you want to go back to Africa just because you want to visit, or maybe you just don't like it, but that premise of going back to Africa, that came all the way back from like Marcus Garvey, back when we were going through oppression. But do not make any mistake about it. African Americans that are descendants from slaves, you can go back and open up the history book. Look at George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. They had slaves. We've been here since the inception of the country. African American, this is the thing that the system has got us messed up in the head. And for some reason, people think that America belongs to white folks, which makes no sense actually, because most of them, as a matter of fact, if you were to go into your workplace and you pull up the roster of people that work with you, you would see Slazinski and Trump or whatever the case may be. Those names aren't even that American. Our names, Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, right? You go to the military, Smitty, Washington, in the church, all of us got English last names, just like in the Civil War. General Tecumseh Sherman and Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant. We've been here since the inception of the country. Just because we were oppressed does not mean that we are not American. What happened to the African American culture? Yes. I get all that. But to say that we're not American and that we should move back to Africa, that makes no sense.
Now, when they tell us to go back to Africa, how are we going to go back to Africa? Let's really talk about that conversation. Outside of even what all his brothers said of us having an ethnogenesis and things like that. First of all, the way y'all did it in the transatlantic slave trade, that I'm using myself. I don't know who my family is in the African continent. I know they're there, but I don't know who my family is. Why I don't know who they are? Because you stripped everything that we had from our family back home in the African continent and gave us a new identity, starting an ethnogenesis with us. Our African names, gone. African religion, gone. African languages, gone. African traditions, gone. And we had to do an ethnogenesis here and become a new people. So how could you say, go back to Africa And we had to have an ethnogenesis here. So when you ask a black person where I'm from, oh yeah, I'm from Texas. That's what they're going to tell you. Because that's exactly where they from. It's there. So you tell us to go back. Okay, where at? And then you're so ignorant, you say Africa like it's a freaking country. It's a continent of 54 nations. So you're like, can you be a little bit more specific where we need to go back to? Okay, and if you do choose a country, fine. Are those people supposed to give me a citizenship the moment I get back? I need my reparations money if I'm gonna go back. Because the reason why I need my reparations money is because you owe it, one. Two, I need to set up me a new life there if I'm gonna go back. So what are you talking about? And let's be real. If we gonna go back, you gotta go back to Europe too. We all gonna go back. How about that? Cause you came over here, willingly came over here. That's why you know your last names. That's why you know, oh yeah, my family came from Italy, my family came from Germany. Most of the folks know exactly where their family come from. They'll tell you. But when you ask a black person, they can't tell you. So if anybody go back, why don't you? Because at least you know where to go. At least you know where to go in Italy. At least you know where to go in Germany. At least you know where to go in the UK. We don't know where to go. We are literally on our own. We don't even have an African nation that's willing to say, hey, you make it here, you got your citizenship. We don't even have that. So all this go back to, no, ain't going. If you want to go to the African continent, it's because you want to. You want to move to the African continent, it's because you want to do that. If you want to go back and forth, I'm spending so much time in the continent, so much time in America, that is your choice too. It is your choice. At the end of the day, we built America. We've innovated America. America is just as much our country as black Americans as anybody else, like the folks too, is our country. And so we go to the continent because we want to. If we want to go vacation over there and come right back, we'll do that too. There's no issue, no problem. And you don't have no power to force nobody to go back anywhere. Because 9 times out of 10, you see on the internet telling a black person to go back, and usually you're broke. Because the ones in your community that actually got some money, they ain't selling the internet telling black folks to go back to Africa.